Hello everyone, I'm just adjusting our camera here to hopefully get us in the right spot and shot and everything else. Can you see us?
Ooh.
Can you see us?
Yes.
Okay, maybe we need to, can we zoom in a little bit?
I don't know, can we?
I don't know. And maybe turn it more a little towards you. Oh, there we go. Hey, that may have been a little too much.
Okay, we'll see.
Yeah, because now you just see our heads.
Oh, boo. We're floating heads now. Woo-hoo.
Bring it in just a little bit more.
Like this way?
No, just zoom, not out, other way. There you go. There you go.
Does that work?
Is that better? Just a
think so.
little. Yeah, just a little bit more though. Just a little bit. There we go.
There we go.
Okay, I think that's good. Because I want them to be able to see us and
What we're doing.
what we're doing. We're a talk show.
We're a talk show.
Yes, I've got my multiple drinks like they always have on talk shows. So there you go.
I'm only solo drinking it today.
Yeah, there you go.
No alcohol for the solo reference.
So we're here doing a special Tarot Delights. YouTube didn't let me title it before we went live.
Oh, okay. So
I'm
we'll
going to
do
take
that
one
for-
book down. So you're going to see me again here. Hi, everyone. Because I think it's just a little too high.
That's fair. Ooh, I like that.
Yeah, that's better, right? All right. All right. If anyone wants to be our, what do you call the behind the scenes person? If anybody on Monday nights wants to be the behind the scenes person
Watching our comments so we can answer questions.
and adjusting cameras so that we can be better on the screen, then we would welcome that. We would welcome that wholeheartedly. And Wednesday mornings too, because I usually do a podcast with my daughter on Wednesday mornings. See, that's
So
even better.
Wednesday mornings or Monday nights?
Yeah, Wednesday mornings, and it doesn't have to be the same person. It's a volunteer job, so the pay is non-existent.
Well, I mean, at least you're honest with that.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I can pay you in a tarot reading or something. I'm happy to do that.
Ooh, that'd be fun.
Yeah, so you get $120 worth of tarot reading if you want it, or
Yeah.
use it for a friend, because you can only get so many tarot readings before you're like, okay, stop paying me in tarot readings. But we're doing a special Halloween version. I've got the camera set up so that when I tap the table, it's not jiggling as much anymore.
Yes.
Because I
See,
noticed
didn't-
that in the
Well,
playback.
I'm glad you noticed it because I have a tendency to listen to our stuff and not necessarily look at what we're doing, and then so that's
okay.
why I never noticed.
Right. Well, I was watching it just to see, what it was looking like and the aesthetic sort of thing and all that kind of stuff. And plus, I can't stop looking at myself
Ooh,
because I'm so pretty.
we're all pretty.
And I know when all the good jokes are coming up because I know the stories, right? I'm like, oh yeah, this is where I talk about a grocery cart thing.
Oh, I tried Instacart for the first time over the weekend.
Oh, did you?
Yeah.
How did you like that?
I do. It's dangerous because yes,
is.
it's more expensive, but oh my god, is it ever convenient?
I know, right? It saves you so much time. Because you're just like, okay, now I can do my dishes and clean
Yeah.
my kitchen or clean my bathroom or whatever you're doing.
And I have food for the week.
And I have food for the week.
Yeah.
Someone else is doing the shopping for me. The only thing is, I find you have to babysit it a little.
Yeah, because if they're like, oh, this isn't here or it's sold out or whatever, you have to like either substitute it or say like no substitutes, refund.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
sometimes you get disappointed because you're like, I really wanted that one thing.
That always happens to Josh. Oh my gosh, he's so like I don't know where the like luck goodness goes for him, but every single time, almost every single time we've done Instacart on his account, when we order stuff, he's like, okay, I need fluids, but in order to get it to like free whatever, free delivery,
yeah.
almost said shipping, he'll add in some extra stuff, but then he never gets the fluids because they're the thing that's out.
Oh, but they don't not give it to you for free if it's just not in stock. So as long as you order enough, so it's for like free
Yeah.
delivery, they won't charge you if it's like, say it's $50, you have to minimum order in order to get the free delivery.
Yeah.
If for whatever reason it goes down to 40 because it was just out of stock, the store, they're not going to then ding you.
Oh,
for
that's
the delivery.
good.
Yeah.
No, but I think he's more frustrated because he got, like, he literally wanted the one thing and then topped it up for free delivery.
Yeah.
But then the one thing you wanted is always out of stock.
Yes, that's frustrating. And sometimes I wonder if it really is, or they were just, I didn't want to grab that thing.
Yeah. You never know.
You never know.
We're not, like, honestly, they work very hard.
Oh, yeah.
I could
yeah.
never do it.
No. I tried it when it first came to our city.
Yeah.
And it was boring as hell because no one knew about it yet.
So you're like, I'm waiting.
Yeah, I would sit and wait and be like, okay, I've had one order all day long.
Yeah.
I don't think I ever got paid for it, but it's neither here nor there. I don't care because it was like 1 or 2 orders that I ended up doing because no one knew about it.
Well, it's always really interesting.
But yeah, we've got all kinds of, I've got a lot of my dark decks out. So I've got the Bohemian Gothic Tarot that I got in Prague, but they're actually, I think, based out of Ireland.
They're such a great publishing company.
Oh, they are.
I think that's where my Mystical Creatures Tarot came from. Is that
Oh, yes. The Baba Studio.
Yeah, Baba Studios.
Yes.
So they're, I think, out of the deck production business because they were trying to sell off their misprints, and like people could not like in Facebook. So I'm in a couple of Facebook groups on
It's
Facebook.
such a great deck.
It is such a like
This one.
The company the company has like really, really high standards. So like the Mystical Creatures deck was like my unicorn deck for years. Sells for easily $200.
Oh, wow.
I got it stupidly good price. Thank you, Emily. It will never leave my collection. But like when I found out that they were choosing to pivot to something else, like even their misprints or whatever were A, still expensive, but B, people were tooth and nail in it for decks. It was
wow.
insane.
Wow. Yeah, their card, it's really nice.
Cardstock's super pretty
Yeah.
and lush, and
Exactly. You know,
production value is amazing.
and like every one of these cards, if you want a dark deck, this was a great dark deck. You can't get it anymore, clearly. But look at that. I love it. I usually bring it out for the month of October to show it off and whatnot, but it is a beautiful deck. Now I also have the original deck that I started professionally reading with, and it's the Dark Grimoire Tarot. And it has a lot of monsters in it, and I'm going to show some of the cards in a little bit here. But there's actually a lot of light in it, and I know
good.
you've looked at it too. And the other thing I love about it, and this is what first drew me to this deck, was not just the darkness, but there's a lot of books in it.
I think that's what I liked about it, was that there was all sorts of books and
Yeah.
little interesting pieces of...
And it's about the adventure of knowledge.
Ooh.
Yeah, so all the aces are books. So that's kind of interesting. And there's the back of the card. It's quite dark. And we're going to talk about some of the scary cards. And then, of course, I have the Jack-o'-lantern tarot deck that's actually for sale in my shop. So that's always a fun one. There's the back of the this deck. Now, I really like the Queen of Cups in this deck.
Ooh, it looks like she's, like, her throne is part owl.
Yeah. So I thought
that's
that
really neat.
That was really cool. There's on the back of the deck is a jack-o'-lantern and some squash flowers. You know, because actually when Samhain was first happening in Ireland, they used turnips and gourds and stuff, not pumpkins.
That is so bizarre to see, because you can see in, like, historical renderings that they, like, would cut faces into the squash and turnips, and
Yeah.
it's bizarre.
And it's like instead of pumpkin. And just a few weeks ago, I went to a friend's of mine place for a dinner party, and she had made pumpkin, because pumpkin's really big in the grocery stores as a food to eat, which is not something we traditionally use in North America outside of the pumpkin pie.
Okay.
Right? And
Yeah.
yeah, we've all had like pumpkin loaf and all that kind of stuff. But she actually spent some time in Australia, and they eat pumpkin as a vegetable. And
Like,
they
regularly?
yeah, and they
Oh.
don't actually make pumpkin pie.
Interesting.
Because they were military, right? So that when they mentioned pumpkin pie, the Australians were like, "What? Pumpkin pie? What is that?" You
That
know?
is interesting.
So I was like, "Oh, that's kind of interesting." And then the back of this card also has a bat and 2 owls. So there's a lot going on just on the back of the
well, and
card.
that's interesting because it's all interconnected and really well done too.
yeah, yeah.
I always get slightly disappointed when the tarot deck backs don't look good, like or
Yeah.
don't fit with the deck.
Yeah, or the backs are better than the deck itself.
Yes, yes.
I've had that happen. Where it's
Where you're like, oh, I love the back. I have to have this deck, and you're getting a look through, and you're like, oh,
I'm kind of disappointed.
I'm kind of disappointed. That's unfortunate.
Especially with pip cards, because I can read pip cards, but I want more than just pip cards, right? Like if the back of the card is so fantastic, and then the major arcana are great, but then it's just pip cards after that. I'm like, so you gave up after the major arcana and just kind of...
But doesn't pip start like come from like Marseille though?
Yes, yeah. I mean, that
like
was sort of the original.
There is that history there, and that's what I tried because like I wrote pips off for so long because I'm like, nope, don't even want to try to read it because I can imagine the scenery in my head and it's fine, but it's like trying to explain that to a client over and over and over
Yeah.
when you have like multiple cards sitting, and then you're like, oh, but if you only saw it the way it was supposed to be and not just that. So like the other Baba Studios deck that I have, the Mythical Creatures, actually is a pip deck.
Oh, okay.
But it's the only pip deck I'll work with because it's so well done.
Right.
I'll have to bring it in sometime.
But the thing about pips too is that with normal, like everyday kind of tarot cards, like this is the Queen of Wands, right? So you show that to a client, you're going to get a reaction.
Yeah.
But you don't off a pip.
No, because they're like, well, I'm looking at the 5 of Wands and it has 5 sticks.
Yeah.
And
It's
then
like,
they're
okay,
like,
so
what
what
am I
does that
supposed to
mean?
Yeah.
Right. And
Yeah.
then you have to pay attention to what you're saying to the client and how they're reacting to that, which is a reaction in and of itself. But a picture says 1,000 words, and when you plop that picture down and they react one way or the other, whether they pull back or go forward or
Yep.
whatever, or they fall off their chair completely.
You ever had someone do that, fall off their chair?
No, but I've had someone pee their pants.
Oh, that's interesting.
They got so emotionally worked up.
invested in, yeah,
that
okay.
I won't say, of course, who it was or
Yeah.
anything. I actually don't remember their name.
We should do like it'd be interesting to do one with Catherine because she used to read people too, right?
Yeah, yeah.
So we should do like a reaction of like who.
What's the weirdest reaction you ever got?
Yeah. We should do a tarot round table of question and answers.
Yeah, because one of the ones that made me almost fall off my chair was when I was at a show back when I was on the road. And we used to do the quick yes-no question ones, right?
Yep.
You only do that with a dedicated deck, by the way. But, and I have a video about it if you want to watch it. But one lady posed the question, because I always said, you don't have to tell me the question.
You just have to.
I'll just give you the answer. And the answer was yes.
Okay.
So great. Okay. And I'm like, is that the answer you were looking for? And she's like, oh, yes, I'm so glad because I asked if I was going to live through my cancer treatment. And I went, you put your question of whether you were going to live or die on a $10 yes, no answer. And she is still alive to this day.
I
so.
mean, good that needed some insight, got some, yay, it's still happening. But at the same time, really?
I know, right? I mean, I get it, I guess. Like, you want to know, but... And the cool thing about my particular deck, because I had it for many years, and I didn't use it, and I didn't know why until it presented itself.
I remember you talking about that.
It's never been known to be wrong.
Mm.
So, it's very interesting. Very interesting. I love getting that deck out, because, of course, it's a big deck, too. Right, it's got the bigger cards, so it's
I
very
remember that.
dramatic. I should do an evening of yes, no.
Yes, no's.
Yeah, because they're kind of like potato chips, right? You can't have just one.
No. Do like a 3 for 15, 3 questions for 15.
Yeah, or something like that. Yeah.
Some sort of dealio.
Yeah, exactly.
Get people yes, no's, and then you could like. I think no. We'll talk shop about that later.
Yeah, exactly.
My
But when
ideas
someone
are
sits
spinning.
down for a yes, no, they're always like, okay, can I do one more? Can I do one more? So, always interesting to see.
Yeah. Do they jump subjects, or is it all really related to the first yes, no?
No, I've had people that have jumped subjects. Like I asked about my career, and now I want to ask about love.
Okay.
Or, yeah, yeah. And sometimes people will tell me the answer. I mean, the question, and sometimes they're like, "No, I don't want to tell you the question." I'm like,
That's fair.
"Yeah, I told
Well,
you
I
at the
think
beginning,
that's a
don't need to
really
know."
interesting way of doing things, because I know some people are like, I'm gonna test you. I'm not gonna tell you anything, and you're gonna
Yes.
see. So it's like it's almost a good way to combat the testers, or not combat, but like
No, I know what you mean. I've had guys that like, especially at those venue type things, because it's different when they come in here. They know what they're coming into. They know they're coming in for a tarot reading. But at festivals, you get all mix of people, right? So I've had people sit down like this and just clam right up, and I'm like, I can't get inside your mind unless you give me permission to. And that's when my empathy and my psychic ability can come into play.
yeah,
But
it's like you ain't getting the whole money's worth if you don't let me.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's sort of like you want a full examination from your doctor, but you won't get into the Johnny shirt.
Yep.
You know?
You don't like it. It's not comfy, but it needs to happen in order for the full examination to happen.
Exactly. Exactly.
Love that analogy.
Oh, but some of the scary cards are, of course, the death card
Yes.
is one of the scarier cards. Now, I know you have a couple of deaths.
I do have a couple of deaths.
Let me see if I find any.
Oh, I
I've
missed
got
one.
this one. This one's the Halloween one. So the Halloween one, the jack-o'-lantern one, is a skeleton. He's on the dark horse. Well, he's got his dark horse. He's not on it. He's more beside it. He's got his toe, I think, inside a jack-o'-lantern.
Oh, there it is.
And there's a dead person behind him.
I really hope. So there was so the woman who. Where's my brain? Where's my card? Did this. So death. So this is the Sasha Graham tarot illustrated by Abigail Larson. It's the. So I shouldn't say Sasha Graham tarot. It's the Darkwoods tarot by Sasha Graham, illustrated by Abigail Larson. She has an amazing Headless Horseman piece up on her Instagram right now.
Oh,
and I'm like,
cool.
please tell me that's making its way into a new tarot deck. I know she's done a few. She did this one. She did the Nightmare Before Christmas. I feel
Okay.
like there's either a horror one she's done, and there might be a vampires one coming
Okay.
with Sasha. I don't know. That's like, I heard rumblings of it last year and haven't really.
And she's going to be at the show we're working.
Yes. So if you're into tarot and you like Sasha Graham, she's also an author of a bunch of amazing tarot books. She will be at the Kingston Tarot and Lenormand
Yep. Conference.
conference. Thank you.
Run by Marilyn Shannon. And we are going to be working
Yeah.
it. Yay.
So come say hi.
Yeah. We're going to be the Zoom girls.
Zoom girls.
Zoom, Zoom.
Zoom, Zoom. No, we're gonna make sure all the participants, the lovely participants, I shouldn't assume that they're ladies, will be enjoying the conference from the comfort of their own home.
Yeah. So Marilyn asked me yesterday, I guess it was.
Yep.
Yeah. And you've done it twice now?
Once, twice?
Once, twice? Or
I don't
this
know.
is your second time?
Yeah, this will be my second time.
Okay. So, yeah. So I'm really excited. We're going to be working together. So, come and see us, like Kayla said. So it's funny, in my Dark Grimoire deck, I didn't actually pick out the death card as one of the scary cards.
Interesting.
Because I was just picking out cards that kind of looked scary a little bit. Like one of the cards I picked out was the Fool. And he looks like a guy that's in an insane asylum.
Oh, yes. He's got that, like, straight jacket thing on.
Yeah, and the light under him. And, of course, all his demons that are bothering him. But there is a lot of light in this deck. So it's interesting, I find, that I was just going through, I wasn't paying attention to names because I just wanted to see,
Visually, which ones looked scary.
yeah, which ones would I
that's fair.
pick.
Well, that's like the Ten of Swords in a more traditional tarot looks like this, where the person is kind of stabbed with 10 swords and they kind of look a little
And they never look fun.
done with life.
Yeah.
It's never, Ten of Swords is never a fun card, but you have that dawn situation where like that hope is coming.
Yeah, it's like the horrible thing that people have been saying about you is over now.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
And then, so with the newer deck that I have, the Under the Oak Tarot, she's got the blindfold off of her because it's centered around a girl who's blind
Oh, okay.
and not blinded by an accident. But I think in her spiritual journey, she learns to see in different ways. I've had this deck for an hour. So if I butcher the story, we'll revisit it when I've had spent some time with
Yeah,
the deck.
she's got some new
Yeah.
decks here.
But it's really interesting that they've got the runes on her, and she's more against the tree. And I want to say it's an oak tree because there's a theme of oak trees throughout this deck, and it's less stabby than the original.
Right, right. Like, see, here's the death card in the Dark Grimoire.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah, so it's a bunch of people going through these ginormous doors, but the door's opening up. It doesn't look scary.
No, depending on where it leads, though.
Yeah, I mean, death is a transition, and that's what it's about. Like, death rarely, in my 20 years of reading cards, it's less than a handful where death
Actually
literally
means-
meant
Yep.
death of somebody. And it's never been the death of that client that's getting the reading.
Oh, that's good then.
Yeah, so it's
It's
usually
always been
someone
like letting you know of.
Yeah. Like
something.
one was a husband of somebody, but he was in the last stages of cancer. So she kind of expected it. But yeah, so it was, it wasn't scary. I mean, it was sad.
Yeah, well, I feel like I love.
And we're all going to die.
Yes.
We're all like, every day you get a little closer to death. Whether today is that day or, 50 years from now is that day, we don't know.
Well,
Nor should we know.
Well, it's funny because at the end of the work today, I was like, how is it only Monday? And I'm like, I don't want to wish my days away because I'm very conscious about doing that.
Yeah.
But there are days that I'm like, I don't want to relive today. I'd be good if we skipped tomorrow and like,
Yeah. I mean, as kids, we wish days away all the time.
yeah, we're like, can't wait till Christmas.
Yeah, I
Yep.
can't wait till Halloween. I can't wait till summer's over because I'm so bored. I can't wait till school's over because I want to be in summer.
Yep.
I can't wait till I'm, 16 and can start driving. I can't wait till I'm an adult. And then we
get there.
get there and then we're like, okay, can I go back?
Yep.
It's like, don't wish your days away. It's not worth it whether you're young or not.
No, I think it's just an interesting perspective people have because I feel like it just shows that perspective of where they're in. Like if you're in the point of wishing your days away, you think you have more,
Yeah.
but tomorrow is never promised.
No, exactly.
So-
and we spend so much time on so much shit.
Yes. Especially if like, so I'm in a little anxious girly. So school was always really hard for me because I did the whole like, what if I don't get this grade or what if I don't get in here and what if I don't do this and it's got to get me the better job and really does it matter? I found a job. I'm working. Grades didn't matter all that much. Passing is important. Don't get me wrong.
Passing is important, but ultimately grades don't matter. No one's gonna, like, if you went into a job interview today, no one's gonna ask you what your college grades were.
No, there's only been like 2 jobs I did where they were like, what's your transcripts? I'm like, well, they're at 7 years old, but you can see them if you really want to.
Yeah,
Like-
you get to an age where it's like, does it really matter anymore, right? And
But I could understand where some jobs, like,
I mean, yes.
if you're right out of the gate, yes.
well, even like if you're a doctor, yes, you should be able to show your medical degree. Like, you can't just walk into a hospital with
Well.
a stethoscope on and go, I'm a doctor.
You shouldn't be able to do that.
You shouldn't be able to do
The
that.
news has proved otherwise. Not that we're highlighting that you should do that. But no, like your grades aren't everything. You know, if you're having a tiff with your best friend in the schoolyard, it's gonna end up okay. You know, or
Yeah.
if you think your life's gonna be over because your partner or significant other didn't call you back.
Yeah.
You'll
or
survive.
wronged you in some way.
Yeah.
It's devastating in the moment.
Oh, for sure.
Absolutely. And it can definitely stop you in your tracks occasionally, where it's like, I just need to take a beat, but it shouldn't stagnate you so much that you get stuck. Right. And I understand there's times where it's hard to do that.
Yep.
Right. It's-
And sometimes you have to take a minute.
yeah. And don't be afraid to take a minute, definitely, if you
Don't
need
live
it.
there.
You know, but learn to walk it off too. You know,
Oh, the old adage, walk it off.
walk it off. Come on.
So many. I used to play softball, and there were days that, like, you know, the odd pitch hit you the wrong way, or like battered, or like you didn't catch it the right way with your glove, so it bounced off your shoulder, and like I'd hear, walk it off, you'll be okay.
Yep, yep. And there's moments where, you know, like when my mom died, she was the first of my parents to die. And I really felt in that moment. Now, she died of an aneurysm, so it was a very sudden boom.
That's hard.
Yeah, it's hard.
hard.
And I get it, like, because I went to the stage of anger really quickly. That's
Yep.
the Aries in me, maybe, of, you know, like, how come the rest of the world hasn't stopped? You know, like, everybody stop the world from spinning and get off for a minute. My mom just died.
Yep.
And you kind of go through this weird stage of, how can you be living your normal life? Don't you see I'm so hurt and I'm so upset right
Well,
now?
your mom is very important to you, right? And it's I found really interesting is like you almost wish that there could be like a day of mourning for all of those people that are really, really important to us, like there is for when dignitaries die,
Right.
right? Like
Yeah.
there's that everything kind of slows down. We stop for a day, or if you're the queen, it might be 10 days.
Well, in our family, we do the wake.
Yeah.
Right. So that is a day. And I love the way my Irish side of the family
Yes, you've told me this. Yes.
do, you know, the death of a family member. Because we do the wake and we all go to the same funeral home. And most of us are drinking. And that's okay. And
If that is how you choose to deal with sadness,
yeah.
more power to you.
And I love it in a way. I mean, it's sad that someone had to die, but our family does come together. We're a big family, and you get to see people, and you're catching up. And,
Yep.
you know, there's some sadness, but there's some good times, and the children are always included. So, you know, the children have this way of brightening up a room.
They really do. Like
Yeah.
they may not understand exactly, because I'm trying to remember the last time I went to a funeral, and there definitely was children there, and sometimes they don't always understand exactly what's going on.
Yeah.
But it's almost that childhood innocence of like, all the adults are in this like zone of somber despair, and then the kids don't really understand what's going on, so they're just like, Uncle so and so or Grandpa, and
Yeah.
like you just kind of you can feel that lifting of the sadness,
Yeah.
right?
I mean, as they, you know, the usually the person is in open casket who's passed, and you know we all take our turn going. We don't have a receiving line. To me, that bothers me because then you start saying, "I'm so sorry," to people you don't even know,
Yeah.
right? Because I've gone to those wakes where there's a receiving line, and it's like I might know one person in
Yeah.
that family. And yes, of course, I'm going to pass my condolences on to them all. But we don't do the receiving line. You just come in and you mingle with who
Yeah.
you know. Because we'll have friends of the family that will come in and they'll go to the members of the family they know,
Yeah.
right? But the children all know, you know, they'll get goofing around as kids do. But they know when it's near the casket, no, you have to walk slowly,
Yep.
you know, and you sort of nod your head or whatever, right? They don't usually go up and say a prayer or anything. We're Roman Catholics, so there's always prayers being said, right? But the children know, like, oh, no, even my granddaughters, who the last one we went to, I think they were 4 and 5,
Okay.
and they're like, that's where the dead person is. We have to be quiet.
Oh.
We have to walk slowly. And it was really sweet, right?
Aw.
They knew, right? Sort of
Yeah.
right away. And they met a lot of their cousins and stuff. And
Well, I think weddings and funerals is how kids meet their other family now. Like,
yeah.
we can't always get together. It's some bunch of us are flown kind
Yes.
of across the
Yeah.
the country, so it's.
But you'll make the effort for that funeral,
Funeral,
or for
for
that
that wedding.
wedding.
Yep.
Yeah, exactly. And you know, like a lot of people have gone to the celebration of life, especially since COVID and stuff like that. But I and whatever you want to call it, put whatever words you want around it. And I like the idea of a celebration of life, but I do like seeing the person there because it's my last time. It gives me closure.
Yeah.
Like I know people are like, "Oh, that's really morbid. I don't want to see
Well,
the
no,
dead person."
but there is something about getting closure. Like, it is important, regardless of, especially if they were close to you, even if it was 20 years ago. Like, there is something about getting that closure and being there for your other family members. Like, but at the same time, I know that's not always possible. So sometimes you have to make your own closure, which is totally valid as well.
Yeah, because I've been to a few wakes or celebrations of life where I didn't see the person who had passed, and it felt like it wasn't quite complete.
Okay.
You know, it's like, I just want to pay my last respects to this person, but also too, you don't really go to a wake or a celebration of life for the person that passed. You go for those that survived that person.
Yes, and then they can tell their stories, and that person almost lives on through that storytelling.
Yeah, and you're offering support to
Yeah.
those people.
Yeah.
Because I learned that with my mom's funeral, because it was the first wake and big death that I'd ever experienced. Correct me. I had experienced other wakes, but it was aunts and uncles, and I was like, yeah, whatever.
Well, it's not the same. Like, don't get me wrong. I'm not saying it's not important. What I'm saying is the death of somebody in your immediate family hits different.
And it's what I call one of the big deaths, right? Like,
Yeah.
and I was a kid when a couple of my aunts and uncles had passed. So it was like, okay, so so-and-so's not around. Oh, well, you know, as kids do. But when it was my mom, I realized how important it was for me as an adult
Yep.
to go to wakes of friends who had lost their parents or whatever. When you become part of, one guy sent me a note, you're now part of the Dead Moms Club. Because when you become a member of the Dead Moms Club, when you hear of someone else who lost their mother, you immediately almost reach out to them because you know that's a primary relationship, good or bad, whether it was good or bad, because you know there's like, it's the finality of death, that there's no, you know, let's make up, you
Yeah.
know, and
Yeah.
let's heal, or, you know, like maybe you've cut them off for whatever reason. And now there's no final words to say anymore, right? You're only going to be able to say them again if you go to the other side, which you will eventually, but it might be 20, 30, 40 years from
Yep.
now. And maybe you won't have as much to say then. Who knows?
No, and I mean that's always really interesting, because I think that's a key pivotal point of a lot of people, where they like, is there another side? Am I gonna be able to see my people? Blah 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 blah. And like, I think that sustains some people too. So like, if you are suffering a loss, you know, and if they were in pain during their like time of passing, you know they're not in pain anymore. You know they're at peace, and then you know you'll see them again. So I feel like that's kind of an uplifting thing
yeah.
that people trade and like reiterate at funerals and wakes, as well, because then it kind of gives the people that are left behind a sense of, okay, there's hope.
Yeah, yeah,
And even though death is so final.
yeah, yeah. But it just makes you more mindful too of your final words to that person might be your final words.
Yep.
You know, so speak kindly and gently.
Oh, all the time. Kids are rough this week, and I was like, so we're gonna use kind words, right? I almost need that on a record.
Yeah,
'Cause-
yeah.
and
And
then-
gentleness.
Gentleness.
Right, because kind is an action, but gentleness is an attitude, and it's good to be gentle both with yourself and with everyone around you, because you never know that fuck you say even to a random stranger. What if those are the final words they hear?
Oh, you're killing me tonight. Oh. Yeah, well, it's true, and I mean, I always got told, like, if you don't have something nice to say, don't say anything.
Yeah, yeah, and
And
I'm not
that's-
saying stifle yourself.
No, don't do that. But like, be aware. And sometimes, and like, we hear it a lot growing up, and now I understand why, because the more you hear it, the more you'll practice it.
Yeah,
And so, and it's even changed how, because like, even if I witness something, so like, I know, so for example, at work, I work with kids. If little Johnny punches little Jimmy, Bobby,
yeah.
whatever.
Yeah, Jimmy,
Even
sure.
though
Bobby,
Bobby.
Jimmy.
I saw Johnny do it, I'm still gonna go, hey buddy, what was that about? How are you feeling? Like, I'm not gonna be like, how dare you do that? Because
Right.
then they already feel bad about it, and then I feel like if you go in there with kindness and not in there with like a how dare you, even though they were in the wrong, you get
Yeah.
a lot more information.
Yes, absolutely, and you can correct them after.
Yes, like, it's one of those, let's learn the whole story, then let's do corrections. But also too, like, we're just trying to teach them kindness right now, because they're mean to each other.
Oh, kids can be mean. Like, they always say, like, animals and children are always so nice, and they're not.
No, they're not.
I learned that when I had chickens. Chickens are mean to each other. They literally have a pecking order.
Well, and that's where that comes from, right?
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
They're like, if you don't fall into line, we're gonna make you fall into line.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And children too can be so mean, right? And yeah, like because we don't know any better, right? That's where that whole growing up learning process.
Yep. No, that makes sense.
is, right?
But like, oh my gosh.
And some of us don't grow up. Like I've been watching. Okay, so as you know, court shows are my guilty pleasure.
Yes. I only catch little snippets on like social media because I don't have cable. So tell me about your court shows because
But
I'm
I've
living
also been
vicariously.
delving into real crime. So
Court shows aren't enough.
apparently not. I've watched them all, so I'm like, oh yeah, I've already seen this one. So I started watching I'm a Killer on Netflix.
Okay.
And some of these people are just like, oh my God, like you did not get out of your lower chakras.
No.
At
and
all.
It's really interesting too because like a lot of things that you would think work for some people, for people who don't get out of their lower chakras, it don't work.
No. And you know, like I would love to sit down and do some of my bloom sessions with these people.
That would be so good.
Yeah, that I would love to do that,
At
right?
the same time,
But some of them
How?
I'm like, they would be a hard nut to crack.
yeah,
you know?
you would have to like gain some trust and
Oh,
then
absolutely.
make sure you're not being manipulated in the process.
Yeah,
and,
yeah. I mean,
like-
these guys are a lot of these guys are really smart
Mm-hmm.
because they've manipulated themselves, the people around them, the system
Mm-hmm.
for such a long time.
And they literally have manipulated their own brains into believing that what they did was okay.
Yeah, or you know, like yes, they'll admit that they did it, but there's
Yeah,
always that but.
There's always that but. Which is, so I did go through a rather long phase of like true crime, what makes serial killers tick. There's actually something going on in Kingston to that effect.
Oh, really? I'm obsessed with these serial killer.
I'm already
brains.
working, so it's November 1st.
Oh.
At the Grand Theater. It's like there's an up and coming criminal psychologist that's presenting like why serial killers do what they do. They're doing like a Q&A afterwards, kind of doing a plug for it. Didn't really mean to, but like if you hear this before November 1st, definitely go check it out
Okay.
because like I can't go. So please someone go for me.
Right.
But like and I because it's fascinating. It is. And I think it's because we think differently from other people, right? So like some people believe how they think is how everyone thinks.
Oh, absolutely.
And then
100%.
other people-
Most people think that way.
Yes. And then some people realize that not everyone thinks how they think.
Yeah.
And then for those of us who work with very neurodivergent people, we realize there are various ways people think, and sometimes you just gotta figure it out so that they understand what you're saying.
Yeah. I like to use the eyeglass analogy.
Okay.
Because in high school, I was nearsighted.
Okay.
And I didn't know I was nearsighted. I thought everybody couldn't see the board and had to squint like me. And when I got glasses, because I'm not nearsighted anymore, but I just need these to read the cards. But when I got glasses in high school, I was like, is this how everyone else can see?
Well, that's it. And I feel like it's the same thing with like I could go on a whole tangent about like accommodations. Accommodations are there to level the playing field so that everyone gets an even crack at the corn or whatever you want to call it.
Because Jimmy cracked corn.
And he don't care.
Yeah. I had to say it. It was right there.
Yeah. So I feel like, and it's interesting because if you've never experienced a skill deficit or something different in your life, or like you said, like not being able to read the board, classic right here. I'm wearing glasses since before I could walk.
Right.
There's you see life differently, and then if you work with people who have varying things and abilities,
Because you adapt.
you do. You
Yeah.
totally do. And sometimes you don't even realize you're doing it.
Yeah.
Like, for example, I have a very, very slight limp. Don't realize I'm doing it half the time, except when I'm really, really tired. And then people are like, why do you walk like that? And I'm like, what do you mean?
Yeah.
And they're like, you walk weird. I'm like, no, and then I go, oh, yes, I do. I just don't notice it because that's just how I walk.
Yeah, because like with my eyeglass thing, for instance, I learned to write as fast as the teacher spoke because I couldn't read the board anyway, so I just have to write
Oh, that's
as-
stressful.
so I learned to do that. I could do it no problem. It wasn't stressful. It was just I learned how to do that really fast. And I learned how everybody walked. I learned everybody's gait.
Oh, interesting.
So I could tell who you were coming towards me, if you were a friend of mine, obviously, by the way you walked towards me.
And then their face kind of came into view.
And then, their face would come.
That's
so
interesting.
those were two adaptions
Yeah,
that I
so-
made.
And people do it without realizing it. So,
Because I was like, when I first had my eyeglasses, looked down the hall, I'm like, oh, I can see Tanya right there. You know, this whole
is that
time.
what you look like from that far away? Yeah.
Exactly. I mean, I still kept up the writing as fast as my teacher talked because it was just a good skill to have.
That is a really good skill. That stresses me out because I process information differently and I can't write what I'm listening to. I have to write what I read.
Oh, see, I can write what I'm listening to.
Yeah, no. So it's a totally different. So that's an interesting learning style difference.
Yeah.
Oh, that could be other
Yeah.
delights conversation.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right. We kind of tangent a little bit.
We did. What else is scary? Anything else scary?
We talked to death. We've talked about death.
Yeah, we've talked about death.
Okay. What about the
So-
devil?
The devil. Oh, the devil. There's the devil in the dark grimoire.
Ooh.
So he's a big monster.
Oh, he is a big monster.
Yes, and they look like there's a little circle of people, and they look like they've almost summoned him. You know, he's coming
And
out
he's,
of
like,
the ocean.
Coming out of the water, like, what do you want?
Yes, exactly.
Yeah,
So-
that's so. This one, I have more of a like the traditional chains and fire, brimstone kind of devil.
Right. And then there's this devil. He's got all the traditional markers, the Adam and Eve, and then the upside down pentacle.
Oh
which
yes,
people-
you really have a traditional one.
Yeah, so there's the devil in the jack-o'-lantern tarot. But he's not the reason why the tarot got banned. As you know the story,
No, he's not.
it was the good old high priestess that got it banned because the church didn't like the idea of her nickname being the Popess. 'Cause they didn't
I wonder
like-
if they were ever printed with the Popess title,
I think there were a couple.
and then they kiboshed that pretty quickly.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
historically speaking, in Europe, when tarot and the playing card decks hit Europe,
It's another version of the devil.
there was like two Italian competing versions. I think there were 2 or 3 French versions of the playing cards, and then there was a couple of German versions of the playing cards.
Okay.
And there may have been others as well. I'm not sure. And it was around the 1400s that they first hit. So there was different versions of the playing card deck. Now, so the playing card deck that we know of, that Vegas uses for poker and all that kind of stuff, was one of the French versions that won.
Oh, okay.
And the church was going through a lot of turmoil at that point because there was Reformation happening, because they were starting to translate the Bible into English so it was more accessible to, or into other languages outside of Latin is what I really should be saying, so that it was more accessible, because before then only priests learned Latin and the upper class.
Well, yeah, and it's really unfortunate because then it's a barrier to really reading the book for yourself, which is what they didn't want.
They didn't want that. Plus, there was a competing pope. So France had
Oh yeah, I
a
remember.
pope,
Okay.
and
Yeah.
Italy had a pope. and then,
who finally settled that score?
well, obviously,
It eventually
Italy won
Yeah.
because the Vatican City is in. It started. The Pope started in Italy. The whole thing, but there was a French one for a while,
That's
and then
interesting.
that was around the time that Henry VIII was going, "Fuck you, church! I want more wives." And
And then he just created a whole other division.
yes, he truly believed he was the head of the church in England, and yeah.
Oh, how far we've come.
Yeah, I know. And he went back and forth too, because he was yeah, let's put it into English because of course he was
Yep.
the king of Britain, and then he went back to no, let's all put it in Latin, and people were getting burned for having an English Bible even in their
Oh.
household, or beheaded or hung or whatever.
So you
And then
can't
he
have-
went back to
So you can't have certain herbs and stuff, because then you'll be called medicine woman and eventually get burned at the stake. You
Yeah.
couldn't have an English Bible.
No.
People, I think, just liked burning people at this point.
Yeah, and England went through a big, like after he died, his daughters took the throne, and one was very Catholic and one was very not Catholic.
Ooh.
So then it was going back and forth between
Protestant and Catholic, yeah.
and if if the Queen was Catholic, then the whole country turned Catholic
If the Queen was Protestant, the whole country.
under
Wow.
under fear of death if you didn't
Yep.
convert one
Yep.
way or the other.
That's interesting.
So yeah, so it's like, where's your loyalty lie?
up your
I'm Catholic one day,
mind.
I'm Protestant the next, and God forbid you were Jewish, because that was just not a good thing at all.
I think that, unfortunately,
Jewish people were very persecuted in those days, and they were, that's where the word ghetto originally comes from the keeping the Jewish people in certain quarters.
Population, yeah.
Yeah, because I know I think it was Italy somewhere, they had ghettos of Jewish people that, they had to be home by like say 5 o'clock, and they would lock gates so they couldn't leave their community, and they had to wear like big red hats or something
to identify.
to
that they were-
identify. Yeah.
Is that where Hitler got it from?
Yeah, maybe. I don't know. But it's just like, it's like, oh my God, like all through history, because it was illegal to lend money and charge interest for it.
Oh, is that where the Merchant of Venice kind of stems from a little bit?
Yeah, I believe so.
Okay,
Yeah.
that was a really good play.
Yeah.
And pointed and did some really good commentary on England at the time.
Yeah,
Or
yeah. Again, how
Italy,
far
wherever it
we've
was.
come, right?
Oh,
like
for sure.
even the executions of people. The fact that you executed people for the smallest of crimes. It wasn't even like, oh, you murdered someone. It's like,
At least
oh, you
there's an
had an
appeals process now.
Yeah, you
for the
had
most
an
part.
English Bible in your home. How
Yeah.
dare you? You must be hung, or you must be flayed, or and don't get me started on the flaying, because that is just a brutal process. And then as humankind, we have been so
Well, and I mean,
cruel
we
to
don't.
each other for no reason.
Not that I don't acknowledge that this happens, but like you and I get onto some like really great conversations, and then I'm like, holy crap, humans suck. Like
Well, hopefully we're getting better.
we hopefully are, but there are other things that are going on that I'm just like, the world is on fire. What are we doing?
Right. Yeah, exactly.
Like-
exactly.
I'm not looking forward to how many days is it until election day down south?
Yeah, I don't know, but I try not to look there too often, 'cause it's like, don't burn yourself, so don't touch the stove.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. What else have we got? So I noticed the Three of Swords were rather interesting.
Okay.
So in more traditional tarot, it's usually this has got an anatomically correct heart.
Oh, okay.
With 3 swords through it. But then the newer deck that I have is Under the Oak Tarot, and it's got like lightning bolts as the swords, and it's
Just
got
looking to see if
runes
I've
on
got
it.
my-
So I'm interested in this deck because it's got runes, it's got some interesting art styles, and yeah, I don't have my version of RWS.
I've got the Three of Swords here.
Well, I like that. I found it interesting that they're coming like into his head.
Yeah, so because the Three of Swords always looks bad, because it's 3 swords, usually through a heart. This one's through the head. But, when the heart breaks, the mind can't help but be devastated.
For sure.
Right?
Well, very interconnected.
Yeah, and this is the card of disappointment, right?
Yep.
Heartbreak and disappointment, right? So when heartbreak happens, your thoughts go everywhere and you kind of shut down. Even the pumpkin looks sad.
Yeah. Oh, poor pumpkin.
Jack-o'-lantern's sad in this one. But yeah, it's a hard... I found that a very intimidating card when I first started reading, because I knew it meant I was going to have to deliver bad news.
Oh.
Because it's like, well, it's the card of disappointment, and that can be worse than someone breaking your heart sometimes, right?
Yes. So it is difficult to break free from the icy prison we have built around ourselves when we are in anguish. However, there is a way out. Simply observe with awareness and convert negative energies into emotional resilience.
Oh, here's the Three of Swords here for her.
Ooh, that's interesting. So she's got a lot of like what I'm assuming is her her internal dialogue kind of talking at her.
Yeah, but they're coming out of this book.
Okay, maybe not then.
So it's sort of a pen is mightier than the sword. Maybe she got a Dear John letter.
Oh, maybe. She doesn't look very happy about it.
No, she's not very happy. She's crossing her arms like in a protective
Like,
mode.
leave me alone. I don't know. I don't
Yeah.
like what it said.
But the book is there, and there's ghosts and goblins sort of coming out of it, and there's some kind of wind, sort of the winds of change.
Okay, winds have changed. Yeah.
Right? Because a lot of times when you get disappointed or when you go through some heartbreak, you do have to change. Like, you know, if you're going through heartbreak, it usually means a breakup of a relationship, a divorce. And that usually brings, especially divorces tend to bring, you know, like, especially if you've got a family or something, you know, kids involved and stuff like that. It impacts more than just the couple, right? I mean, I had one couple that was fighting over the dog, you know, and
That would be.
and they were bringing the dog back and forth. And I'm like, and the dog, you know, the guy came for a reading, and he's like, the dog gets confused every week. He doesn't know where he's coming, whether he's coming or going.
and that's hard.
Yeah, that's really hard. So they decided the dog was going to stay with him, but she would come and visit. But again, the dog was still confused.
Yeah.
Because they
Like,
felt
well,
like,
Why are you leaving? You're supposed to be together.
yeah, why aren't you sitting here on the couch watching movies like you always do? Or,
Yeah,
you
yeah.
know, kind of thing, right? How come you're not staying, you know?
Well, and that's always so. Like when
the
Josh
dog was
and I
like, you
work,
can stay in my bed.
when Josh and I work opposite shifts. So like I'm out right now. So Bosco's probably not settled down. He's probably out looking out the window, like, hey, where's my mom?
Right.
And only when we're all in the same room, because even if like Josh is doing laundry, so he's on the couch and I'm upstairs watching TV because it's not my night to do laundry. We're married and we do separate laundry. Don't ask.
So do my husband and I don't want to wash his underpants anymore. So
It's not about that. We've ruined each other's clothes by not making sure what doesn't get shrunk in the dryer. So
Yes.
he's like, screw it. We're both doing our set. I was like, yep, works for me.
yeah, me too. Yeah, because my husband's very particular
Yeah.
about.
Yeah.
I'm like, just throw it all in.
I'm getting there.
His first clue should have been when we were first dating, and I, for whatever reason, had one of his sweaters that he had gotten for Christmas.
Yeah.
You know, not from me, from a parent or something.
Yeah.
And I washed it, and it came out this small. And he was like,
Was it real wool? Because that could
yeah,
definitely.
yeah.
Oh, okay.
And he was like, he's like, you shrunk it. Like, I can't wear it ever again. And my mom just laughed. And because I was used to like a family of 7 kids and 2
you
adults.
just threw stuff in.
You're just throwing shit in because it's just like, just get rid of the pile, you know?
Yep.
The never ending pile, by the way.
Mm-hmm.
Or the pile that just gets shifted from the laundry room into the living room to be folded. That never quite gets folded
Because
all.
people are picking through it. Like, oh, this is clean.
Exactly.
Yep.
So yeah, that should have been his first clue.
Well, I think we've both done that to each other, and we're both like grumpy with, like, not lately, but like we've both been grumpy with each other. So we're
Yeah.
like, no, we're good.
Yeah.
But like Bosco doesn't like when we're not in the same room.
Oh, okay.
And then he'll be like, okay, good, you're both home. And then like we'll go and chew a bone and be like, okay, they're home, my job is done. So like I can't imagine just to like separate the household like that. He would lose his mind.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I'm hoping to get a dog soon because
Yeah.
there's nothing like a dog greeting you home. Although my dog would travel with me, this new one.
Oh, for sure.
They would be coming to work. You probably see the dog right here during the podcast.
Hi. Oh, yes, please. Come on.
Yes, exactly.
You could do tarot readings by pause.
Yeah, exactly.
That could totally happen.
Oh, that'd be awesome. You know, my pug does tarot readings too. I knew a lady that had a dog, a Bernese Mountain Dog,
Yep.
who was a Reiki master.
Yep.
And it was
told me that, yeah.
Yeah, it was an amazing Reiki worker. It just knew we would all sit in a circle and it would go to whoever needed it. And I always like was praying, please, please, I need it. Come to me.
Yep.
Once it came to me, and I was just like, oh my God, this feels so amazing.
Well, there is something about it because, like, Josh and I, like, when we're both on the bed at night, and Bosco usually goes to Josh, which is fine because, like, I usually steal my hugs when he's on the couch.
Oh, okay.
And then every so often, but he has a tendency when I'm asleep, he'll sleep on my head.
oh.
So, like, I don't notice when he comes and
So
hugs
you got a
me.
little corgi hat?
Yes, I have a little corgi hat, and then he'll go and spend time with Josh. But then, as soon as he can tell that Josh is falling asleep, he'll jump down and go in the cage.
Oh, oh, that's so sweet.
Yeah,
That's
you
so
would
sweet.
think. Because
Now, when I had my Larry, who was Jack Russell Beagle mix,
he was adorable.
he was so adorable. But we also had Lucy,
Yep,
who was our Great Pyrenees, and they both slept in the bed.
that's hilarious.
And Bob, the cat, who thinks he's a dog, also slept.
He was raised with Lucy and Larry.
Yeah, he was. And he thought Larry was his best friend. Larry did not think that. But, you know, and by
What do
the
you mean,
time,
guys?
Yeah, by the time we went to sleep, Lucy would use our big Great Pyrenees would get down and she would sleep in the doorway of our bedroom because she's guardian. So she would guard the door, make sure. So I always felt safe because I knew if any burglars came in, even if we left the door unlocked, I'm like, yeah, try it. She'll
Yeah.
rip your face off. And that's if she's being kind.
Bosco always barks at people across the street because the sidewalk is across our street.
Oh, okay.
And he's like, it's like he thinks the whole street is his.
Of course,
And he's
yes.
like, what are you doing on my street?
Yeah. How dare you come down the street?
Yeah. He's so cute though. He just wants to go say hi to everyone.
Yeah, yeah.
I don't know how
yeah.
much of a guard dog he is. I
Yeah.
think if push comes to shove, we totally could, he would be a guard dog.
Yeah.
But like, he just wants to say hi to everyone.
Yeah.
It's adorable.
Well, Lucy's was a great judge of character because she didn't like other dogs.
Okay.
So, you know, I always warn people you can't bring your dog near her because she will attack it. But she liked people for the most part. But there was one time where I was walking her for her last walk at night, and this guy came up to me just randomly. And he said, "Oh, I'll bet you feel safe with her around." And she started growling right away. And she doesn't normally growl at people.
She's
so I'm like,
darn tootin' and she does.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm gonna make sure you know why.
Yeah, exactly.
Dogs know, man. Like
They do.
I've been very lucky. So even some of the families I work for, they all have dogs, and like because like by the time I've been around them enough, I kind of see them as my dogs too in a sense. So like there was one family I worked for. I don't work for this family anymore. This was a while ago, but I had been there maybe 3 weeks, and the dog's not supposed to chew on anything. That's not their toys. So they had gotten like a sock or something. So I immediately, just because I'm used to doing it with Bosco, the dog is a giant black lab.
Okay.
And I shouldn't have done this, but I was like,
Oh.
nope, open, take the thing out, and I'd look after. I'm like, you could have bit my hand off.
Yeah, but he trusted you.
But he
enough.
trusts me enough.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. He knew what he was doing was wrong.
Yeah, the look was like, I'm sorry, don't tell mom and dad.
So yeah, my Dark Grimoire does, like, it's a fun deck to bring out at Halloween
For
time.
Halloween, yeah.
But it does have a lot of monsters. Like this guy, this is the Seven of Pentacles. So he's got a monster behind him. He's got a couple of heads of monsters on a shelf, and he's reading a book, but the book is full of light and is lighting him up. So as you
Well,
can
it's-
see, like, it's not...
I find it really interesting that you said Seven of Pentacles, because I actually like Seven of Pentacles is one of my favorite cards in this deck. And now that I've buried it,
Okay. And this guy seeing the monster, who he
ooh,
really
yeah.
is. So
Kinda
this is
seeing
sort of...
that Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde
Yeah,
situation.
seeing the, you know, the demon within you, that may be the challenge that you need to overcome, whatever it's a bad habit or whatever it might be, right? So,
That Seven of Pentacles of being overworked and waiting for the fruits of your labor.
okay.
There's that like Grim Reaper
oh,
scarecrow
yeah.
looking thing, and
Yeah, yeah.
it's interesting.
That's an interesting one. Now, this one's nice and light. This is
Oh, it is nice.
Judgment, which is normally sort of considered one of the scary cards because no one likes to be judged.
No.
But again, Judgment is about the decisions that you've made already and that you're in the right place. So Judgment is usually a very clarifying card. So this one has a double rainbow in it with a pyramid in the back. The guy's hat has flown off because he's just carefree and whimsical.
carefree and whimsical.
Now this one, Six of Pentacles, is usually, you know, paying it forward, helping those
Yeah.
out, and you
It
can
looks like
see.
he's got they've got their hands out.
Yeah, it looks like there's the horde. Sort of, you know, hey, help me out. We're drowning here. Now the 10 of Wands. This guy looks tired.
Oh, totally. But he's in the ones like where you're kind of like grabbing everything and you think you almost got it, and it's like
You're
I'm
putting your
almost
load
there.
down.
Yeah.
Yeah. So there's no actual wands in this one, but he's secured to a rock. He's coming out. He looks like an Indiana Jones type guy,
Yeah.
you know?
Definitely. Looks like he's coming out of the.
He's found the secrets.
He's found the secrets. He's trying to escape with them.
Exactly.
Oh, the
Exactly.
Hermit card's a really interesting one. Sorry, that's like one
No,
of my like
that's okay.
signifier cards in a deck that I'm like, ooh, if I like this, deck's gonna be
And
okay.
this tower card is not nearly as.
No, because even
gruesome.
with
It's like just the wind. What is it? The wind vane or whatever it's called, at the top of buildings sometimes.
oh yes, the weather vane.
The weather vane. Thank you.
As I'm doing this, because that's what it does to the wind. Oh my gosh.
That's all that's fallen off this tower. You know, and yes, there's some tentacles and.
And
sort
yet
of-
you've got other towers that are like, we're gonna destroy everything.
Exactly.
Or
But the lights are still on. You know, so it's not that bad.
this one the tree's destroyed. This one makes me a little sad.
Yeah.
I'm a big fan of trees, so when I see them destroyed, a little piece of me goes, no.
Now, fives are always hard transitions. So the 5 of Swords in this card is a guy, but he's getting away from these monsters that
So
are
he's
after him.
transitioning from a different perspective, maybe.
Yeah, escaping the monsters or overcoming the challenge. Now, we've actually got poppets in this one, too.
Oh, that's interesting.
This is justice, right? So one thing I was talking about, I can't remember when we were talking about it, but the justice card is called the karma card, right? So we've got the woman with the scales of the balance of scales or whatever. She's justice. But often what I say about justice too is this is when your enemies will be vanquished. So the poppet comes into that. Oh, I know. We were talking about poppets with Catherine because we were on our other podcast. We were talking about good Halloween costumes, and we were saying we should dress up as puppets and spend the night stabbing each other. But not with real pins. We do like magnets or
Obviously.
something.
But like that is awesome idea.
Yeah, we were coming up with some great Halloween costumes because we've been doing Reddit Halloween reactions
Yeah.
to like, should we do a couple's costume or whatever? So we said puppets would be.
Wow, that'd be interesting. I think this is interesting. So this justice card is obviously a lot more lighter, but like most justices are blindfolded in tarot.
Yeah, yeah.
This one's only one eye is blindfolded.
Oh, okay. Yeah, sometimes she's lifting her blindfold
Yeah.
a little, right? Yeah, yeah. On Judge Judy, it's Judge Judy who lifts the.
Yeah.
And then she winks at yeah.
Oh, that's too funny.
I love Judge Judy. And then this is an interesting one, the 2 of Swords. It's like Nero's final thing because he
Yeah.
played violin while Rome was burning, right? So this is the 2 of Swords. So 2 of Swords is normally crossed swords and you're blindfolded and there's something you're not seeing, but you're having to make a decision. So it's sort of like you have to make a decision now, otherwise Rome will start to burn.
Okay. Yeah,
You know?
so you can't be too long and lingering in your decision making.
Exactly, because sometimes just waiting is a decision in and of itself.
Yep.
And it might not be the outcome you want.
So I found it really interesting that the Queen of Cups was like the 3-headed goddess, which technically is Hecate.
Hecate, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I wasn't sure if I was up on my lore on that, and that I found weird to be the Queen of Cups, but that's just me.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I mean, I guess Hecate, I can see why it would fit. Because you and I both said we would have gone swords at
Yeah.
first. But really, Hecate, what she does is she's kind of like Callie that way. She helps strip away what you don't need and help you find
So
what your
yes.
real heart-centered purpose is.
So then, in that sense, she is really heart-centered and like emotionally based. And
Yeah,
no,
yeah.
that makes a lot of sense. But just like my gut reaction, I was like, huh,
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Interesting. Because
that is really interesting.
am I getting my stories mixed up? Who had to go to hell and be stripped down? Was it Hecate? I think it was. Persephone went to hell but she comes up every spring. But I think it was Hecate who went, or maybe it was an Egyptian one. I can't remember. I'd have to look it up.
We'll look that one up for next
Yeah,
time.
there's a story where one of the goddesses has to go to hell, and the underworld basically,
Yeah.
and her sister is there, and she ends up through each gate. It's not like the 7 gates of hell or anything, but it's through each gate. She's stripped down more and more to
Okay.
the point where she's completely undressed. All her jewelry has been taken, and she actually gets hung on a meat hook and is killed. I know, it's a very gruesome story. And it's the origin
like-
story of a fairy tale too. I can't,
Oh, okay. I was like, there's got to be a purpose to it. Normally, your stories always have like a. And I was like, which one is this?
and I'm mixing up my stories right now, so I can't figure out who it is.
All right.
If you
So
know.
next time,
Yes.
pop it in the comments
Yeah.
if you know what story.
If you know
Rhonda is
what I'm talking about.
Yes, because
'Cause right
I'm
now,
confused.
I don't know.
That's okay though.
Sometimes they all blend together too. I mean,
Well, that's true. Like,
there's really only 7 stories in the whole world anyways.
yeah, yeah,
There's just different ways of telling it.
exactly. No, that totally makes sense.
But I hope you enjoyed our little wander through some of these darker decks. And next week we'll be back on track doing the Major Arcana
Yep.
again. I'm not sure which card we're doing.
We'll post before we record.
Yes. But in the meantime, I hope you have a very happy Samhain, very happy Halloween. And realize that Halloween is a season, not just a day.
Yep, agreed.
So it lasts for a few days at least. So enjoy it all for what it is, and enjoy the darkness of the dark part of the season that we're going into. All right, take care, everyone. Bye.
Bye.
All right, I'm gonna. Oh, you got it? Okay.
I realized once you got up the other way, I was like,